Hey there, Reds. Welcome to Manchester United Daily Updates, your daily hub for all things Manchester United. From transfer news to match, updates and behind-the-scenes stories, we've got it all. Let's get started. Roy Keane has just gone off on Bruno Fernandes. Meanwhile, Manchester United's young stars are making history, and could Ruben Amorim have the perfect plan to unleash Victor Osimhen? Stay tuned for all the latest Manud drama. Let's get into it. Manud news. Roy Keane launches incredible Bruno Fernandes attack as youngsters get nod. Manchester United avoided serious embarrassment on Wednesday night as they edged out Ipswich Town. A 3-2 win at Old Trafford kept the heat off Ruben Amorim temporarily. A loss would have seen the team hit a new low, but their attention can now turn to the FA Cup. The tournament, where they are holders, is one of their two remaining hopes of landing silverware this term. They will face Fulham, who they beat just weeks ago, with another success potentially improving morale in what has been one of the club's worst seasons for decades. Amorim is not without his issues, though. The attitude of Alejandro Garnacho has been called into question, with his manager ready to discuss it with the winger. Keane hammers Bruno. Roy Keane has hammered captain Bruno Fernandes, as well as his teammates, labeling them bluffers as he let off steam in a full-blown rant. The Portuguese star has long been a divisive figure, with his quality twinned with an attitude that rubs people up the wrong way. Despite Fernandes' individual efforts, he's not been able to deliver huge amount of success, and Keane is not a fan of some of his antics. He said on the Stick to Football podcast, "I see fans at matches and they're singing for Bruno. I see these boys and I think you're fucking imposters." Ian Wright defended Fernandes, claiming he's led by example and suggesting that United may be in relegation battle if it wasn't for their skipper. However, that led to a fiery response from Keane, who said, "Talent is not enough. You keep going back to talent. Bruno's a talented player, but it's not enough." Garnacho dispensable. At Old Trafford, Liverpool icon Michael Owen believes that Garnacho is dispensable in Manchester. The Argentine made headlines on Wednesday evening, storming down the tunnel after being hauled off when his side went down to 10 men. His future at Old Trafford has been questioned in recent months, and he was linked with a move to Napoli, but United placed a $60 million price tag on him, and the Italians opted against pursuing the deal. Owen, who also played on the red side of Manchester, doesn't believe that the Argentinian has done enough to make himself integral to Amorim's plans. At the moment, he's not getting into the Manchester United side, Owen said. "If he was that good, Ruben Amorim would consider him to be undroppable, even though he has been reportedly misbehaving." Several youngsters included in squad. The club have made 5 of their young stars part of their first-team plans under Amorim. Cheetah Obi, Seko Kone, Ali Harrison, Jack Morehouse, and Tyler Fredrickson have all been recognized on the back of Manchester United's matchday programs. United have needed to call upon their academy to help name their matchday squads due to the injury issues at Old Trafford. 7 of the club's young prospects were named on United's bench against Tottenham earlier in February. Several weeks on, and only Obi and 19-year-old goalkeeper Harrison were required for the win over Ipswich. Harrison was recently recalled from a non-league loan spell, and the Red Devils rejected loan inquiries for him in January as they wanted to further involve him in first-team training. Rubbing salt in Arsenal wounds with Cheetah Obi, Manchester United are looking to create history. Manchester United will be dressed in their smart black suits when they arrive at the Emirates to face Arsenal. The youngsters are looking to reach the FA Youth Cup semi-finals, and Friday night's game against Arsenal in their own backyard promises to be an enthralling encounter. United have won the Youth Cup more than any other club, and there is a growing confidence the class of 25 can extend the club's rich history in the prestigious academy competition. Adam Lawrence has stacks of talent at his disposal, and the U18s have easily brushed aside Coventry City, Preston North End, and Chelsea on their way to the competition's last 8. Coventry were hammered 5-0 in December, Preston suffered a 5-2 defeat a month later, and Chelsea were beaten 5-1 in February. The U18s suffered a shock defeat to Swindon Town in the early rounds of last season's Youth Cup and have seemed determined to make amends. They have certainly done that, and then some. They have been a cut above the opposition they have faced so far and made light work of beating Chelsea after conceding the first goal. Preston put up the biggest fight and threatened to come back after being 4-0 down at halftime. The Lancashire club scored twice in quick succession in the second half and would have been just one goal away from equalizing if not for some outstanding saves from William Murdoch. United head into the quarterfinals against Arsenal having been relatively unchallenged, but the Gunners aren't expected to be shot down as easily in front of 10,000 fans at the Emirates. Having said that, Arsenal's U18s are in the bottom half of their Southern Youth League, and United will be quietly confident they can claim another victory to progress in the competition. United cannot become complacent, and they won't, but they have some of the best talent in the country at U18 level. They won a historical treble last season, and although some of the older players from that team have stepped up or left on loan, some are still part of the squad. The likes of Harry Amas, Jadon Camason, James Scanlon, Gabriele Biancheri, Jack Fletcher, and Chido Obi will be hungry to lift the trophy and write themselves into United history. United last won the Youth Cup in 2021-22, and that special crop of talented youngsters included Alejandro Garnacho, Kabi Mainu, and Dan Gore, while players such as Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard, and Ravel Morrison starred in the United side that lifted the trophy 14 years ago. The Youth Cup has been a springboard for dozens of players in each generation, and they will always remember the games they played in the competition, regardless of whether they subsequently go on to play at international tournaments or in the Champions League final in their careers. The competition is a big deal, and the Manchester Evening News will be at the Emirates on Friday, just like in the previous rounds, and Academy followers are hopeful that Obi will be involved. Obi was a guaranteed starter in the Youth Cup until his recent promotion. He was given his senior debut against Tottenham Hotspur earlier this month. He made another appearance from the bench at Goodison Park and made the squad for the visit of Ipswich Town on Wednesday. Amorim did not use Obi against Ipswich, which gives encouragement he'll feature against Arsenal. But he could be needed in the first-team squad against Fulham on Sunday, and the club will make a decision. No doubt Obi will be desperate to start in the Youth Cup. He turned down a contract offer to stay at Arsenal last summer and will have the chance to rub salt in their wounds if he does. Obi already has 7 goals in the Youth Cup this season, meaning he's already matched the same number of goals that Garnacho netted when the winger fired United to the trophy in 2021-22. Garnacho was talismanic in the academy, and Obi has been a similarly unstoppable presence this season, so it hasn't been a surprise to see him catch the eye of Amorim, considering the first team need goals. Lawrence lavished Obi with praise after beating Chelsea and said, "It was a really good night for both of the goal scorers, Obi and Scanlon. I thought the two of them had really good performances on the whole aside from the goals. Obviously, Cheeto's a natural goal scorer. He wants to score goals and get himself into those positions. But I was really pleased with him just in terms of his link-up play. Not just stretching and running in behind, but recognizing when to show and defeat, how to use his body to shield the ball, and when to bring others into play." Obi still has lots to work on though, just like every 17-year-old player. His first touch and link-up play has noticeably improved over the last few months, and he still needs to physically mature into his gangly frame, which teases the prospect that the best is still very much still to come. Alejandro Garnacho's social media activity contradicts what some Manchester United staff think. Has anyone thought of banning Alejandro Garnacho from using his phone on match days? That might be the only way forward after the Manchester United youngster made headlines again due to his social media activity. Garnacho was caught in the crossfire of Patrick Dorgu's sending off against Ipswich Town on Wednesday, as Ruben Amorim replaced him with Nusayr Mazraoui after the red card. It's understandable to be disappointed in such circumstances, but Garnacho walked straight down the tunnel, and Amorim confirmed that he would speak to him about his reaction. "Was cold and wet maybe," Amorim initially said. "The thinking was that we played more in 5-3-1. I know that's a risk because we take the only player now that has 1-against-1 in pace, but I felt the team was okay in the controlling of the game at halftime. And then we make the sub and we had to choose someone to go out. We also had to think about set pieces. So that was my choice. You are making a connection with Rashford, right?" I know. What I am saying is I am going to talk with Garnacho about that. I will talk about that if you want in the next press conference. Around the same time as Amorim was speaking about Garnacho in his press conference, The player posted a photo of himself looking disappointed following his substitution on Instagram. United demonstrated tremendous character to win 3-2 against Ipswich, despite having 10 men for the second half. And Garnacho posting a photo of himself wasn't a good look after the final whistle because it appeared to be a hint that he was frustrated at being brought off by Amorim. Garnacho wanted to vent, and posting an Instagram story was his way of telling the world that he wasn't happy. But United won the game, and his tactical substitution was vindicated. Even if United didn't claim 3 points, it would have been inadvisable for Garnacho to post that photo on Instagram. Turning to social media made him seem entitled, and it was ultimately a petty response from someone who should really know better after causing a stir in the past. Although Garnacho's post might not seem like a big deal in isolation, he has form for using social media to express his frustration and had to apologize to former manager Erik ten Hag last season when he liked a tweet that criticized his substitution in a 2-2 draw against Bournemouth. Garnacho was removed at halftime with United 2-1 down at the Vitality Stadium in April and clearly didn't learn from that episode as he turned to social media to convey a message again. His younger brother Roberto has also drawn unnecessary attention to the family with his social media commentary, and perhaps an iPhone ban for the Garnachos wouldn't be a bad idea. United cannot control Garnacho's social media activity, but there will be consequences. Amorim might ask for an apology, just like his predecessor, and nip his response in the bud, or he could come down hard and drop Garnacho to the bench until he proves he is sorry with actions. Garnacho is still only 20 years old and can be forgiven for being immature in some areas, but he's been a first-team player since 2022 and has a young child with his partner. He is not a baby anymore and must think twice before taking to social media after games in the future. The irony is that club sources who work with Garnacho each day at Carrington insist he couldn't be further from the image that is occasionally portrayed due to his social media activity. Garnacho has been described as a quiet, almost shy member of the dressing room. He is said to be polite and humble, which probably contradicts the image some fans have in their heads. There was a report last week that Garnacho rewarded a fan with matchday tickets for a game after she returned his 2 dogs to him. The winger was also the only United player to stop for a photo with an excited young fan who was standing pitchside by Goodison Park last weekend. Garnacho posted on social media again on Thursday morning. "Important 3 points, team," he wrote. He has received the message and must knuckle down again in the coming weeks. Man United boss Ruben Amorim finds key to unlock 30 dollars of Victor Osimhen master plan. Ruben Amorim is reportedly ready to offload one of his Man United players in a summer deal for Victor Osimhen. Manchester United appear to have lost faith in Rasmus Højlund as Ruben Amorim prepares to use the $72 million striker as bait to seal a summer swoop for Victor Osimhen, according to reports. Amorim will look to sign a new goalscorer ahead of his first full season as United head coach, and Osimhen is at the forefront of links. The 26-year-old's relationship with parent club Napoli has broken down, prompting his surprise loan switch to Galatasaray last summer. He has proven his goal-scoring credentials in a fourth country after Belgium, France, and Italy by netting 20 goals in 26 appearances for the Turkish Giants. Osimhen is widely expected to leave Naples permanently later this year, and United have emerged as one of his reported leading suitors. Italian reports suggest that the Red Devils are forming an offer to tempt Napoli to part ways with the Nigeria international for less than his $62 million price tag. According to Calcio Mercato, United intend to table $33 million plus Højlund as their opening bid once the summer transfer window opens. It's claimed that Napoli were previously interested in signing Højlund when the 22-year-old was showing promise at Serie A, rivals Atalanta. However, it's currently unclear whether they remain admirers with a new sporting director, Giovanni Manna, and manager Antonio Conte, arriving since the summer of 2023. The report adds that Amorim has not been impressed with Højlund after replacing Erik ten Hag as United boss in November. Højlund has scored just 5 goals since Amorim took charge, one of those coming in the Premier League, but is currently enduring a 17-game drought. Supporters have grown frustrated with the United number 9, who looks shot of all confidence while shouldering the responsibility of leading the line in a mediocre team. Despite reports of his private thoughts, Amorim has publicly shown Højlund's support, redirecting the focus on his lack of service from teammates. I think it's clear we as a team aren't helping Rasmus, Amorim explained ahead of United's 3-2 win against Ipswich Town on Wednesday night. We don't create a lot of chances. We lack a threat, and you can feel it in the games. Sometimes we are in the final third, but you don't feel like we are a very dangerous team. And you feel it also when we're defending low, and sometimes the opponent is not afraid of transitions. So I also have this feeling as a coach that we are not helping the strikers.